Vulnerability is very powerful. People, I feel like a lot of us restrain ourselves from being our truest self on a day-to-day basis. And that, regardless of what you believe, will take a hit to your success. Hello there, my name is Brandon Rice Maddox. I am a registered nurse. Mental health is my specialty of choice right now. I previously worked in cardiac ICU for 1.5 years, and then I went back to mental health just because it is the specialty that speaks mostly to who I am and gives me the most fulfillment in what I do. Also, I am a life coach, motivational speaker, author, and model. I can be followed at Instagram. It's king_lee_26. Making this Can I Be Vulnerable video because I have lived the power of vulnerability and discovered that, especially as a black man, I'm mixed, black and white, a little light skinned, but you know, as a black man, it's not really discussed in our community. It's not seen as strength. It's seen more of as a weakness to discuss your emotions. Yet you see the people who hide behind discussing their vulnerability. You see the lives that they live. And I felt it, not being able to discuss my vulnerability in a safe, open environment. It can be lonely. It can lead to symptoms of depression. It can make you do things that you normally wouldn't do. And when you become vulnerable, there's so much power in that. And you also get to not only see the power in yourself and being true to yourself, but also see the power in others, seeing the positivity and the light that can be brought to you and the support. So vulnerability, I guess I would like to start with my very first experience, and like most prevalent experience or most significant experience in my life with vulnerability was when my dad passed away. And I didn't want to tell anyone at work.
Yeah.
In terms of not when he passed away, but what he was going through as he was dealing with his fight of cancer. Just because my dad was who he was and he was a very private person.
Mm-hmm.
So I took that and I was like, I'm not gonna divulge too much information about what's going on in my life.
Right.
And that is really what I want to talk about in terms of vulnerability, is when you decide not to be vulnerable, you are concealing a part of your human emotion as you go through life.
Right.
And that will weigh on you. It really weighed on me to come up with stories. You start coming up with stories about what's really happening.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do this because so-and-so, I would say my grandpa,
yeah.
or I would come up with anything
to not talk
to
about.
not discuss what's actually happening with my father. And that weighed on me. It took a toll on me. I wasn't as happy as I usually am. I felt myself isolating at work and not talking, as like trying to take subjects to a whole nother direction.
Right.
So then I decided, I was like, I can't take this anymore.
Right.
And that's where you reach the point. And if you get to the point where you just understand that being vulnerable in the beginning can prevent you from reaching a point of explosion, or just like, I can't take this anymore, that's a lot healthier.
Right.
And that's what I did. I started telling my coworkers, my dad is sick. I have to take him to chemo.
Right.
I have to take him to radiation. I have to do this. And the response that I received was amazing. I thought I didn't think they would do anything.
Right.
And then what they started doing was showing support. They
Right.
started raising money. They started offering sick time. And I was like, it really changed my perspective about the love of humanity that is available in the world in which we live. What you see on the news, if you watch the news and what you read in the newspaper, You know, you wouldn't think that this world is full of love. And that's the idea that I had. And that will cause you to not share or be vulnerable with other people. But once you start to do that and you really open up to people, you'll see that love is out here and love is possible. And there's support for you.
Yeah.
So in that instance, that was the most powerful situation for me, dealing with the death of my dad and the support that I received from my coworkers, friends, and family. Switching gears to discussing about identity. Growing up, yes, I'm light-skinned, but I grew up with blacks and Latinos. And where we come from, I'm from Pasadena, is it the most gang-infested place? No, it's not, but are there Bloods and Crips that you have to deal with and other gangs that you have to deal with? Yeah, and that's where I grew up. And so I developed this identity that went along with that. Like, you gotta be tough. You gotta stay away from certain colors or choose a side, who you're gonna hang out with.
Right.
You know, getting offered to be in gangs, and it's protocol for you to act in a certain way.
Right. You gotta act accordingly, especially depending on where you are.
Right.
That day.
Right, and that's how I felt. Not everybody did that. You know, there were people who could rise above that and do their own thing.
Right.
But I couldn't do that. I fell into the crowd, and I was, I had a certain color flag hanging from my pocket.
Right.
Because I thought that's who I had to be. And the only focus was sports and girls. Sports, girls, and money. That's it.
Right.
And it took me a very long time to realize that's not what life is. You know, you don't have to play a sport to be successful. I thought for me to have what I have now in terms of income, I thought I was gonna have to be playing in the NFL.
Right.
And I'm a nurse and I'm making, decent money. And it feels good, to use your brain instead of your, just rely on your physique. Not saying that's what they rely on, athletes are very smart individuals, but that's the way I felt about it. I felt like I would only have to rely on my body. And also in that culture, it's not customary to cry. It's not customary to discuss your feelings. It's not.
It's frowned upon.
Yeah.
You can't even.
What we say, bitch. Like, don't be a bitch about it.
Bitch about it, man.
Man up, and that makes you feel some type of way. It's like, I can't, I can't act this certain way in front of these people. And when you start making your choices based on what other people think, that creates this evolution of who you are to become later in life.
Right.
And that will put you in some places where into depression, into not feeling like you're good enough, into you wanting to leave this world by your own means, all because you believe that other people's opinions dictate what you can and cannot do.
They matter more than yours do.
And my father really embraced this idea, like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to talk about your feelings. What are you feeling?
Right.
And he would sit there and talk to me, and I would cry, and since that time I have no problem crying.
Right.
Or talking about, like, this is the way I feel.
Yeah.
And when you're able to be transparent about your feelings, you're able to be true to yourself. And when you're able to be true to yourself, that can lead to the ultimate happiness.
Right.
When I decided to stop playing football, when you take and spend 10 years of your life every day focused on reaching the goal, which for me was going to the NFL, and then that not coming to fruition, and you coming to the brink of, am I going to continue to play or not, and then deciding not to, it's like, where do you go from here? I really admire my teammates who embraced that. They embraced the reality that it might not work out for them, and they started early working on, are they going to be a lawyer? Are they doing internships? And I never wanted to embrace that. I said, I'm gonna do everything I can to make it to the league. I'm gonna do everything I can to get this goal that I've been working so hard for. Other people were embracing this idea that it might not happen. And I never wanted to reach that point. And then when I decided to stop playing football, I was in this space for, I want to say 4 to 6 months of going over, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do? Because my degree in kinesiology wasn't really gonna get me anywhere unless I went back to school, and that wasn't an option for me. So as I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do with my life, it took me a long time to settle on something that felt good. And that's really what I wanna impart upon people, is that every day do something that makes you feel good. And it took me 4 to 6 months to figure it out, but it was a struggle. And it turned into a situation where I felt like the only option I had left was to go to the military.
Right.
And I started on that journey for a little bit. I was like, oh, I'm gonna just go to the military.
Right.
Because what else is there? I don't know what else to do. I don't know anything else. I'm fit, I'm an athlete. I don't have to, it's not like I gotta like work and like, you know, like audition for it. Like you just, I mean, sign up and go. And they'll take care of me, and then I'll figure out, you know, life from there. Is that what I wanted to do? No. You know, and that's signing a contract for 4 years of your life on something that you don't want to do.
Again.
Right? Again. And so how I came to this idea of what I wanted to do is something hit me and was like, yo, think about what you wanted to do when you were a kid. And what I wanted to do was a neurosurgeon or play football. And at this time in my life, I didn't desire to go to medical school. So I said, how about being a nurse? That's what came up next. And then I just started on that path. But even then, I've never been an academic. And I had to retake these classes because my GPA from undergraduate wasn't great. You know, so I had another challenge, but I was focused on a goal to become a nurse. And during that time, it was a very trying time for me, and like in terms of what I was thinking, and there's so much going on to the point that I was willing to do something that I had no business wanting to do. That, and basically the point of this whole story is that, that's another vulnerable story, is that I was talking to my friends about how I felt. And that's how I was able to come to this conclusion, like, oh, you know, I think nursing would be a great position for me, or a great goal for me to reach for. You know, and it's turned out really well. Be strong in discussing your vulnerability. You don't have to discuss it with everyone, but find a safe place, safe environment for you to express yourself, so that you can, 1, heal yourself, and 2, make the best decisions that will lead to your happiness.